Today we're looking at the modern farmer shape made at Homer Laughlin in 1940 to about 1943 or 1944. This is the most unlike Homer Laughlin and unlike Frederick Reed. And I say that because it started out with a different pottery company. It was in Hopewell, Virginia, James River. It's a coupe shape with these odd embossings, this like pleated ripple design. I don't know if you can see it on that plate. You can see it on the hollowware a little easier. There's a sauce boat and here's a creamer. So what happened was James River, again in Hopewell, Virginia, produced this shape in the 1930s and sold several patterns to Sears. Well, they went out of business in the late 30s. They changed hands several times. If you want to know more about that, you can look at Joe Cunningham's book, Homer Laughlin, China, 1940s and 50s. And on page 35, she gives an excellent write-up of what happened at James River and how Homer Laughlin got to become in charge of this shape. It was because of Sears wanted them to continue these two patterns, which is, let's see, we'll look at the advertisement first. Here's the first one. It's Breton, which is right here. Now you might recognize this as Priscilla, because this decal would go on to be used on Eggshell, Nautilus, and Kitchen Craft. The second one was Gascon, which is this blue flower with gray leaves. So Homer Laughlin takes over this shape after James River goes out of business. The only significant additions are the salt and pepper shakers, which has the same embossing. This is the swing shape with the little ripples on it. This is the only significant thing that Homer Laughlin or Frederick Reed did to this shape. Everything else, for the most part, comes from the James River molds. Except for the teacup, there's a slight variation to that. I don't have one to show you today. The treatments, if you notice, come from other existing shapes at the time. So like this one comes from Virginia Rose, this one comes from Coronet, this one comes from Coronet. We look at the treatment listing. It starts off with MF1, goes down to MF31. So we've got 31 treatments in all. There are some gaps here, so there may have been ones that were just thrown out or didn't go into production. But what's interesting is you look on the other side at the referring treatments, and all of them come from other shapes. We've got Swing Eggshell, Nautilus Eggshell, Virginia Rose, Coronet, Nautilus Ivory. So virtually everything is borrowed. So Homer Laughlin didn't even create any special treatments for this shape. So we've got a borrowed shape, we've got borrowed decals, and these two came from James River anyway to begin with. So it's somewhat unremarkable in that sense. Now, it was made all the way till 1943. I think we've got a couple pieces. Let's look at the back stamps. General Homer Laughlin marking, 1941, 1940, there's one, 1943. It was made for several years, but you're not going to find a whole lot of it. We'll look back at our advertisement. You can see the James River shakers, which are these pointy design. I've never been able to find an actual example of those. I've only seen them in pictures. But the Homer Laughlin ones, again, are going to be the swing eggshell shape with the ripples. Just real quick, some other patterns shown. I think this is from 1940. We've got Shortcake on W.S. George. That's a pretty popular pattern. Darcy on the Quaker shape by Homer Laughlin. Let's see, Cattail, Universal Potteries, Nasturtium, Payton City. What is this one? Louise on Virginia Rose. Clive on Brittany. This is another James River shape. That's Cascade. And the name of that one's Chalice. And at the bottom we've got York. This is Mount Clemens. So that's about it for Modern Farmer. I do have a couple examples to show you of other shapes with the same treatment. Here we've got Theme Eggshell with the same treatment. Again, almost all of these are going to be borrowed from other shapes. This is unusual in that it's the Theme Eggshell shape, but it's using our Gascon decal from Modern Farmer that was borrowed or picked up from James River. And here we see it on Theme Eggshell. And if you remember the last video on the eggshell lines, Theme Eggshell generally does not have any type of trim. This has not only one line on the edge, but it's got one on the verge, so you've got these encasing lines in blue. So this is a rather nice piece. This is from 1946. And this is pattern MF1, which has these little daisy sprigs. And that was used on swing eggshell. The difference is that Modern Farmer took the little stems from the daisies and cut them off. So you have just the daisy portion, whereas on swing eggshell, you've got the little stems. So that's about it. Modern Farmer. Next video, we're going to look at the Liberty shape. We're coming towards the end of Frederick Reed's life. And then after that, we will get into Don Schreckengost. So if you like the video, press like, press subscribe, press share, whatever. If you do subscribe, then any new videos that I make will appear on your video feed on YouTube. So you may want to consider that. But that's going to be it for today. Modern Farmer.